Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit here from a dark room where I have been kidnapped by IO Interactive, as you can see. They even brought canned laughter in the background just to taunt me. And I'm here with a man by the name of Sven, who has done many an interview tonight already, is no doubt tired and wants to get the hell away from me, but we're going to be talking about Hitman, Absolution, regardless. Anyway, so welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here with the laughter in the background.
We're going to have to tell at least a few jokes to make this work, so nothing we can't fix in post, so it's all good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Hitman Absolution. Obviously, IO have been making this series for a great deal of time, yet we have had something of a gap since Absolution and Blood Money. So the first question is, what the hell took you so long?
Yeah, I mean, we released a couple of games in between, and but to be honest, 47 was never off the radar. And as you might have known, we built Hitman Absolution from scratch, and we also built a new graphic engine, a new technology, which is called Glacier 2, parallel to it. And this technology was more or less tailored to fit the needs of Hitman Absolution. And building a technology like that takes some time.
Now, what are the needs of Hitman Absolution in comparison to, say, the previous title, Blood Money?
Well, especially the cinematic sort of style that we were looking for. We actually sat down and the guys were on a table and said, like, look, we need this. We want this sort of lighting. We want this sort of mood. We need to do this with our characters. We need this sort of animations. And this all came together in this one big mashup awesomeness, which is Glacier 2.
All right, so we had a look today in the event at the new contracts mode revealed quite recently. So I would have to ask, as it is obviously a replacement for multiplayer mode, I can't imagine that you wanted two guys with barcodes on the back of the head running around doing co-op. Now, do you feel that that's actually something that the community wanted? And if so, do you think that the contracts mode is a suitable replacement?
No, the thing is, it actually originated from the community. The community inspired us to do that, because people were playing, like, especially Blood Money, like crazy. They were doing all sorts of competitions, not only on their actual targets in the game, but random guys. Like, there's this crazy video out there. It's called 100 Ways to Kill a Clown, and there was actually a clown in the game in Blood Money in the suburban level, and people just went totally crazy on him, and that inspired us by saying, like, you know, what would happen if everybody would be a target? And this was sort of the premise and the basis where we built contracts on.
Makes sense. Now, the contracts mode, for those of you who don't know, it's not really an editor per se. You know, it has the feel of an editor, but the thing is, you have to essentially do the challenge yourself in order to actually give it to other people. The question is why? Why did you make that an element rather than just saying, here's an editor, pick the target in, say, an isometric view, and then go to town?
Well, the thing is, no matter how easy you create an editor, there will always be an editor. And not everybody digs an editor. So I think the best way to do it is to really play it yourself, show your skill yourself, and then you compare it with your friends. And that's a really interesting approach, I think. Because the thing is, when you play it on your own, you really make sure that nobody is going to beat you.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, I suppose. It is very much this competitive meta mode that's going on in the background. Now, when do you exactly anticipate people playing this? Because the essence of Hitman has got to be the finely crafted levels. I mean, we're talking about a game series that has been based on something of a very intricate, choreographed kind of setup, very much sandbox with a lot of different creative ways to kill people. And the way that each level actually progressed was a story in and of itself. And yet contracts mode is a case of, well, here's a level you've played before, and then you've got to kill these random guys in this kind of way. Is this a kind of mode that you anticipate people playing after the main story mode is done, or do you think it's got value somewhere in between?
Well, the thing is, we unlock contracts mode from the get-go. Of course, we have a lot of spoiler warnings in that, because essentially what you do is you play, or you can create your contracts within a certain confinement of one level. And one level is not only one level, we have many checkpoints within a level, and those checkpoints vary in scenario, in theme, and all of that. Like, let's say our first 4 chapters or levels have 20 different checkpoints, and within that 20 different checkpoints you can create your own contracts in that. And that what I think makes it very, very interesting to play it on. And it also creates a lot of variety. And also what's very important, like I was saying before, I think the more you know the level, the more you know your surroundings, the more what you can do, the more sophisticated, the more interesting will your contracts going to be.
Okay, so we'll go on to just a more general kind of discussion of the game at the moment, which is Blood Money was considered by many critics and fans alike as very much being your company's finest hour up to this point. Hitman 2 set a really, really high benchmark, but yet Blood Money somehow managed to surpass that. So I have to ask, what lessons did you learn from Blood Money going into Absolution, and how you've improved on the formula once again?
Well, I think the most important part is that we want to make, and that's like a sort of a evil word, we wanted to make more accessible to people, you know, because Hitman always had this vibe of being a really hardcore game, and to be honest, I mean, it sort of was, because we kind of threw the player into a level and went like, yeah, go for it, and never really explained what the hell is going on. But this time around, really make sure that like we don't have a black and white scenario anymore. We have very, very, very many different shades of gray there. So we want to make sure that every sort of player is going to enjoy Hitman Absolution. So no matter if you go like you're like a gun crazy player and likes to shoot everybody in the face, yes, you can do that. And if you go the really hardcore style, like the really silent assassin way, you can do that as well, and you'll be rewarded as well.
Now, how would you answer the critics that say that making Hitman more accessible, a very hardcore game, I even recall the first one being criticized by very popular journalists as actually being too difficult. Codename 47 was a very difficult game indeed. How do you answer the critics that say, well, this is something of a betrayal of your core fan base to make this game more accessible? How dare you do such a thing?
You know, I say that it's actually the most hardcore Hitman game we ever created, if you want it to be, because we have different difficulty modes, and we have something that is called the purist mode, which is very much a love letter to our fans. And in purist mode, we remove everything that's sort of a help to you. So you basically have to count your own bullets to make this work. You don't have any head-up display anymore. You don't have the instinct mode anymore. You really play it as it would be for real.
Okay, well, there's a reasonable answer to that. Is Purist Mode actually going to be something that's available right from the start, or are you going to have to... Okay, yeah. That's always good. I always find that very frustrating when I'm forced to play the easy mode in order to actually get to that.
We had a lot of discussions about that, actually. If you want to, you know, if you have to play the game through once to unlock Purist Mode, but since we have a lot of fans out there, and the fans actually voiced it to us, like, we want to have this from the get-go, and we said, like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. You have it from the get-go.
Sounds reasonable indeed. So what kind of new mechanics are players going to be looking forward to with Hitman Absolution that they haven't seen before?
Well, I think the most important one is our instinct mode, which sort of replaces the mini-map that players were used to before. It was one of the first things we introduced when we actually first introduced it, Hitman Absolution at E3 2011, which actually... it shows you, or it gives you the sense of an assassin, actually. So yes, you can sense the enemies around you, can see through walls and see the paths that the guys are taking, and we got a lot of criticism on that before, but I think now the players really realize that that's actually, it's not that that mini-map anymore where you watch like with a god eye on top of the level and see what's going on with everybody, but you have everything in front of you streamlined. You don't have to switch back and forth between a menu, and if the guys really check it out and give it a go, they really appreciate that.
Now, earlier you mentioned your new technology, Glacier 2, and let's be honest, the consoles are getting a little bit on in years. They're a little decrepit. They're pretty old now, but as always, you are releasing Hitman on PC as you do with pretty much all of your games. Is there a benefit to the PC version from your new technology?
Oh yes, it's very important to us, actually. We wanted to make sure that we not only do a port, but really make sure that it lives up to the standards that PC games have nowadays. And to be honest, like you've mentioned, the console cycle is going on so long now that PC sort of gained ground, maybe surpassed even the consoles right now, and we want to make sure that PC players that have a high-end system have a real blast with it. So, for instance, of course, we have high-res resolutions and all that kind of stuff. And we also have this really cool cooperation with AMD, with iFinity. So you can play Hitman Absolution on 3 screens in 3D, and that's really amazing, trust me.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, that pretty much wraps it up, folks. Sven, do you have any final words for the fans?
All I can say is November 20th, get Hitman Absolution, have a blast, make a contract, and I'll beat you.
All right, folks, the contract is out and the challenge has been made. So beat Sven into the floor, please, guys, if you don't mind. That shouldn't be something I think we'll have too much of a problem with. So, yeah, I think you've made a horrible mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Totalbiscuit. Sven from IO, thank you very much once again. We'll see you next time.